Hello and welcome to another video. So we're taking a look at a pretty basic sword deck, honestly. I threw mostly together. I took the basic core of the normal Arthur kind of Latham deck and just added a few extra things like a couple of Sky Fortresses in, just a couple of, extra round tables compared to what the original deck list that I was looking at had, and honestly this has done a fairly good job. It's a fairly consistent aggro deck and that's its main use, so we're going to get right into it and check it out. So our first game being against Blood. Quite a good matchup for this, considering Blood likes to kill itself, so why not? Sword should do fairly well, fairly consistently. The main problem we'll be dealing with, of course, the bigger drops like Vera that really limit how much damage you can do. If you can deal with those, usually you're pretty set. Of course, Dark Feast Bat is a problem card overall, but not usually too big an issue, because by the time they're at Dark Feast Bat, you've either won the game or are very close to it. And they're starting off with a pretty solid Alexandrite Demon. So we're going to go off with our tiny little Bladed Hedgehog. He's only a 1-3, but he can tank your 2-1 pretty well. Following up with pretty much an immediate Quick Blader there, because that's pretty much perfect. It gives us the bonus on our Hedgehog, which is the equivalent to a Quick Blader anyway, and clears the board, so the value's pretty much there. Evil Eye Demon though, kind of ruining things. And Snarling Chains as well. A little disappointed. I didn't want to lose everything in that turn, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. So a Juliet for 4 damage it is. Leaving them on 10 after this turn should be fairly solid.
This is a tragedy. No, a farce.
This will probably be a fairly quick video for you guys, because of course we are playing a aggro deck predominantly. I mean, most of the cards in this deck are aggro focused, but it does have, I guess, mid-game features with its top end, so I guess you could say it's mid-range. Personally, I still lean towards it being more aggressive, as 90% of the things this deck does is go face.
Romeo, I'm coming to you.
So we're pretty close here. We don't need too much more. If we had have managed a nice double Juliet there, we might have been in a better spot, but this one still isn't bad. Mars pretty much has to be cleared. You can't really afford to ever leave a Mars up, so it wouldn't be surprising. Unfortunately, the heal 8 was a little devastating, but outside of that, we should be pretty right. Not quite as lucky though. We are going to be able to use Lancer next turn, but we don't really have any other play outside of that. It would have been better if Lancer was immune to Bane during the turn, but I guess being a 1-to-1 clear there is still fine. So he's back down to 10, going for the Alexandrite Demon, definitely looking for that Dark Feast Bat. I can't think of anything else he'd be doing at this point. I'm looking at a pretty nice Arthur play next turn, which will pretty much lead us into our victory. So there is our nice little Arthur. Probably could have done that a little bit better, but I wanted to keep the storm damage, as even just one storm damage will make a huge difference to Sky Commander being a decent lethal option. Now opponent just going for the crystal there, still looking for a Dark Feast Bat I would presume, and conceding because they obviously run out of options. Next up is a match against Roon. Roon might present a problem occasionally because they do present cards that can be hard to deal with. I mean, having to deal with how many returns they have can really affect your early game. Looks like they are going to be probably Cagliostro, since they've got a heavy emphasis on it. Sometimes you can make predictions based on sleeves and leaders if someone's really pushing it, as you'll see in my next video where we cover Daria. Or, I mean, Daria without playing Daria, but that'll be interesting. So, pretty solid Sky Commander Celia. It's just going to be our generic 2-drop play. We're really just got to put as much pressure on this as possible so that our opponent can't return everything. Luckily, they didn't even get a chance, which means they're actually going to get a lot more value out of this than I'd hoped. Especially with Queen Mangus just locking this board, making it nearly impossible to remove everything. Even Golem Assault here will definitely not be enough. They are going to be able to get rid of one thing, but will that one thing be decent? Probably not. Once we throw down Frontline Cavalier, we'll be able to go 4 damage to the face, and we'll have a pretty comfortable setup from there on. This deck is reasonably straightforward, which is why I was covering it. It's fairly simple. Even going into the next meta, most things should stay fairly similar. They might need a few small adjustments based on Wonderland cards that are probably rotating out, but outside of that, I think this deck would still be pretty good. Even in Unlimited, as it is, without any alterations, this deck can still perform exceptionally well. I'd seen a deck reasonably similar to this a couple days ago that was performing really well in Grand Prix, so definitely don't be too shocked if this does well in the Unlimited format as well. And of course, going for the Despair because I don't really have another play right now, so we're going to bolster that up for 6 damage, leaving them at 4, hoping that that'll be enough for us to get through in the next couple of turns. I probably honestly should have held on to the 1-2. I think it was a big mistake to be playing that here. If I had have kept it, I could have used it with the Sky Commander next turn and gone for exactly 4 damage. Unfortunately, they did ward up anyway, so it doesn't really make a big difference, but it definitely would have been a more secure play than risking losing this 1-2 here like this. So King Arthur's about the only play we've got, as we need to get rid of the 2-2 as effectively as we can. And I can, I guess, bring them down to 3 so that I only have to play 1 card with Sky Commander. So the only risk is that they have a way to absolutely clear this out. If they could clear my ward here effectively without, you know, wasting anything, they would have been right. Unfortunately, they missed that opportunity. If they had have been able to hit that ward, they would have been set. I'm pretty sure it was just a misplay on their part, but either way, it ended up with giving us the victory, and this is a generic ladder game, so that's how things happen. People make mistakes, you capitalize on them, you win the game. That's pretty much what you want to do. So even though this was a quick video, as I've mentioned in previous videos, the expansion is right around the corner, so we're not going to be covering too many things in depth, so we don't want to make these videos super long for you guys, as it would just defeat the purpose of them, as these are just kind of interims before the expansions launch, things that might be more interesting when it launches, stuff like that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe. You will find the deck list in the description below, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.